There's the steering wheel done. Really makes the dash look great, doesn't it? Turned out really nice. Like, that's a $2,000 steering wheel. I also changed out the screws that hold the sun visors and stuff to the proper ones, M5s, the raised Phillips head, and not the flat ones. Not that you'd ever know, but I know. I'll also be ordering all new bolts for the engine, nuts and bolts. I get them off this company here. Nut and Bolt Australia, they're called. I thought they would have had it written on there. It doesn't. But whatever you want, they've pretty much got it. There's that all aqua blasted. Not sure if I really got the right pump, but for now that it's come up quite good. I've just decided I'm going to paint it. We'll get a better finish with it painted. That's perfectly prepped to be painted, so it's getting painted. Plus, because these have been aqua blasted, they will rust, so I'm just going to flick a light bit of colour on them too. I'm just going to put this high temp paint on it. I've painted that in heat proof paint. Nice and uniform, it looks good. That's ready to assemble. I've got the barrels out here. I'll put the gasket on, drop them in. They also have an O-ring goes around there. They can go on. Then you've got to make sure they're flat before you go bother putting a head on it. And actually the crank and that'll go in, then the crank. These motors, you build them upside down. You've got to put the pistons in, then the crank, then the rods, and then the crank. Where a normal motor would be the other way around. The next thing I have to do is cut these. Got to cut these rings. They've got to be filed. And I've bought a filer. I can't find my other one. I don't know where the hell it's gone. So I bought a new one. It'll be here hopefully Friday. We're 2 weeks from everywhere here. So when I get that, I'll file the rings and I'll put them in. Put the pistons, the crank, all that stuff's going in. This thing here, it's just a cheap real ring filer. So the top rings, I'm going to set at 12 thou, which is 0.3 of a millimetre on each one. That's the top, and the two bottom rings I'm going to set at 10 thou. I might even make it 11 actually. So whatever that is. Number 1 cylinder. This is number 1 kit. I've marked everything. So you carefully place your ring in the top and then push it down with a piston. Unless you've got one of them fancy things. And that pushes it down to the depth you want it. Now, I'm not sure what gap I've got at the moment, but it's, oh, hang on. No, it's pretty good. What's going on there? And I'll just check this. Okay, I'll try and video this. You grab one of the rings, you tip a bit of oil on it. This is the last one. Already done the other 3 sets. Buying a bit of oil there. Someone's already had a go at these rings. You can see they're filed on one end. So 1 or 2 of them I didn't have to really do anything to, except square them up. This one here looks fairly good too. So you put it in like that, and you get a piston, or whatever you got, you shove it down. I'm just going to that line there. That's plenty. Some people like to go further. I don't really think it matters. But that's just my opinion. This is set at 12 thou. I'll just have a quick look at it. No, oh, yeah, it goes in about halfway. So that needs to be a bit of a tickle up. Grab that there. Check that you don't re-grind the other side. You only really grind one side. So you sit that in there, hold it flat, and that sits up against that post and that post. And you grind into the ring, not out. A little bit more. These things, just make sure you do it square. That's probably alright. Nice and clean face there now. Probably can't see that. Anyway, just get this thing here, just give it a little lick like that so there's no edges. chuck that in there. Push it down. Get as even as you can. You can buy a special tool for that. I don't have it. Now that sits in there good. That's 12 thou. You don't want the rings to touch. It'll destroy your engine. If anything, you're better off having more than less. A bit more won't hurt it. A bit less will. Chuck a bit more on here. This is the other compression ring. There's two of them. Yep. Chuck that in there, put that over there so you can see it a bit better. Push that down. Where is it? Over here, this one looks tight. Yeah, it's similar. It goes in about halfway, so I just got to square it up. Grab it like that to get it out and just push them together. Make sure you file the right side every time. Definitely don't want to file both sides. Well, that's what I've been told anyway. I just go off what I get told. It should be enough. It looks pretty square to me. Where's that thing go? Right, check it. I just keep putting it up to the light here. And that's pretty good. Maybe one more quarter of a turn, that'll be done. You can buy a special machine for this, but they cost a few grand, 1500 to whatever. They cost a lot, and they have a dial gauge, so you just put it in there. Dial gauge tells you when to stop. Yep, that's good. Good to go. One to go, just the oil ring. Putting a bit of oil on it. Just helps it from scratching the bore. Putting it in and out so many times. I think that looks tight to me. Yeah, that needs fixing a bit. Always check that you grind the right end. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Get that much oil and stuff on it. Doesn't look like this one's been touched. Anyway, I'll use this end. They're a bit of a mixed match pair of pistons, these. I don't know why. Not many people like these JP pistons, and I can see why. Last one. needs more. Always double check you do the right, you only grind one side. No rush, just take your time, get it done. You are better off doing it a bit bigger than small. Small will destroy the engine. Needs more. Well, you just got to take your time and do it. Make sure there's no daggy bits in there. It's in that oil ring. Good to go. That's the last ring. All done. Put this thing together now. Just putting the rings on. One thing with rings, you never put them on like that in a line. You twist them, you move them around, put them in like say 12, the top one at 12, next one at 4, and the other one at 8 o'clock. So your gaps don't line up. A monumentous occasion, that was full of engine parts, that. Just got these out ready to assemble. So what you got to do, that all goes in like that. This stuff will be getting cleaned. I'll clean the whole thing down. Then I'll take these pistons off, clean all this, put the new pistons on, and you got to drop that all in one go. Pistons go first. It goes in upside down like a normal motor. You don't put them in up that way. You got to flip the thing upside down and they go up that way. There's a bit of a trick to it. These rings here are way better than the ones I'm putting on. They're like chrome plated. Okay, got one to go. I'll film this last one. Hopefully it works out or whatever. Put a bit of that stuff on there. They all face it one way, these things, obviously. Where's the old piston here? Some of these are tight, I don't know why. Just whack it in a little bit. Now the exhaust valves all face to the exhaust, obviously, so they're all the same way. On this car, the exhaust is on the right hand side of the engine, which is the left hand side of the car when you're sitting in it. Passenger side in Australia. But when you're facing the engine, when you're facing the front, it's the right hand side. It's confusing, I know, but that's just the way it is. Alright, let's move that there. Tuck that on the ground. Just move this thing over here. I dropped that on my toe from here the other day, busted my toe. That thing weighs heaps. Third bone I've busted fixing this car. Make sure that's home. Right, I can go the other way before I drop it on my damn toe again. Now these clips are a bit of a prick to get in actually, but I've got the other 7 in, so I should be able to get this one in. Hopefully. Now, let's see what's the best angle for this. There is no good angle, unfortunately. They're just a little bit too big. Hopefully it goes in quick. There you go. Once you've done 8 of them, you get good at it. In. And you twist that around so that the broken part of the clip is away from the gap. All done. 4 new pistons, all installed. See that little X mark there? That means exhaust, so they face that way to the exhaust. You put them in another way, it's wrong. That's ready to install. That's a head locating dowel. There's supposed to be 2 of them. I seem to remember there was one missing. And those little 4 plastic things, they go in between the cylinders in a certain spot. So I may have to make one of them, because I just don't have it. Anyway, that'll be tomorrow. What I'm going to have to do next, cylinders get installed. So this will get painted with some good gasket stuff and put the gasket on. An O-ring goes here, and there's a big O-ring goes over there. Put in the locating dowels. There's already one here, but that holds this thing here in. Then I can drop all this stuff on. I've measured all this. It's all exactly the right, same size. So hopefully it'll seal. These engines don't really, they're notorious for not sealing. So we'll see how it goes. Well, I've got a couple of things missing off this motor, which is I've known about. I need all them. They're made of rubber or whatever, some type of plastic rubber stuff. They're a seal. This thing here, I believe that's called a pin knock, but it's just like a locating dowel. One goes there. There's some around the back, which I don't have. I've only got one. This motor only had one. Now there's one that goes here, and from what I can tell, there's an O-ring there. There's nothing in any of those manuals or parts lists or nothing that tells you what that part is or points at it or anything. But that fits in there like that, and it goes into the bottom of the head here. It only goes in that far. But it's got to be hollow, otherwise it wouldn't have a O-ring there. But there's a O-ring goes there. So what I'm going to have to do is measure that, make this part and drill it out for starters. I'm going to have to make a few more of these locating dowels as well. But this is an important one. I've got to get it right. Alright, there's a little lip that goes in there, and I've already measured it. It's 7.2. That just moved. It's a bit hard to do this with one hand and film. So it's got to go in there 7 point, whatever I've written down over here. 7.24. It's exactly 14 mil through there, so I've got to put 14 here and add all that up. That's how long the part's going to be. The part thing's got to be 26.25 long, and that pretty much fits in there perfectly. So I'm going to make it as round as that, or maybe it's got to be 8 mil, but that's not quite 8 mil. So I've got to go and make that. Make a few of these guide dowels. I've only got one, but there's one goes there. There's one goes there. I'm not 100% sure. I've got a feeling there's one goes in here. So I'm not sure. Like oil passes through there. There's an oil O-ring goes there, but I'm wondering if there's actually a little tube goes there. For some reason there's a recess there. And there's a recess in the head. So I've got a feeling it's supposed to have a little tube there. So I probably will make one. I'm going to make it out of brass. The reason I'm making it out of brass is because that's what I got. Film a little bit of this. Just hope I don't run out of film. When I say that, I mean like space. I just don't have much space in this thing. Just got to have a little bit more taken out of it. I'll cut that off. That'll do for the first dowel. I still got a feeling that oil passageway is supposed to have something there, so I'm going to make something. I'll drill that out first. I'll drill it out 7 mil, and then I'll cut this down to 8 mil. I might make it 6.5 mil and see what it's like. There's the other locating dowel. I'm just going to make this other part. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be there, so I'm going to make it. The 6.5 mil drill. I'm just going to drill that out to length, and then I might take it to 7 mil. Alright, here's these parts we need. There's the other pin, guide pin, and this thing here. It's an oil feed tube. I don't know if it's supposed to have it or not, but it's getting one. It's got a recess down there like to stop something, and there's the same thing in the head. Either way, you put an O-ring there, that'll help seal the head better. If it's not supposed to have it, it's getting it. Sort out the O-rings I want. If you go off that parts list, you're going to have to ignore it because they reckons that's 22 mil. That's 26 mil. It fits there perfectly. So if you put a 22 mil, it'll drop through that hole. Now I'm going to have to rig up some pipe because I'm going to paint this stuff on here shortly and put the gasket on and them O-rings and then drop that stuff on. But I need something to stop it from moving, so I'm going to have to rig up some pipe. I've got everything ready. I've found the O-rings I want. I've just made them out of copper. That's just what I had lying around. All I've got to do is hold them things in place when you turn the motor upside down. I may have to trim this. I made it to the length of the old one, but it sticks up a little bit higher than the others. This part here, it looks like it does need an O-ring. I'm not sure if it's water or oil. It could be water. It goes down into here. But on this gasket, you can see there's a bigger hole there. So I've got an O-ring that'll fit in there, and I'm going to put an O-ring there. But I'm just going to leave it for today. I'm not 100% sure about this tube, but I'm pretty sure that is supposed to be there. So I'll go up and see if I can find something. But like I said, there's nothing in them manuals. There's nothing in that part list. Not real much a good manual anyway, but not many manuals are good. Well, I've just found this. It's nothing in the parts list at all about this part. It's pointing to that there. There is a thing there. It's called a pressure control nozzle. All right. If you go to a completely different part of this manual thing, there's that. That's it. So the thing I made it 26mm long, and the opening 7mm. So I'm going to change it. They've got these two chamfers. They're about 2mm each side. It'll still do the same job, but the hole for some reason is smaller. And the motor before didn't have that, so I'm presuming that's another reason why it blew up. It was getting too much oil pressure in the head. So I'm going to make a new one. A new one, so it's tapered on the ends. Same as that. Even though that's a little bit longer, it's just that one used to sit on the ridges. The other one, it would have still worked, but it just had a little bit more flow. For some reason, they want to restrict the flow, so I'm just going to do it like that. And that little part there, I've got the cylinders all installed. Each cylinder has an O-ring about, I'm guessing 60mm, 55mm around the bottom of each one. There's a larger O-ring here. There's an O-ring on this pipe thing, and there's an O-ring there. So that's ready to go. The next thing that's going to happen is that's got to get put in there in one go. Pistons first. So you've got to flip it upside down, put all your O-rings on, and carefully lower it down. So I've got to rig a thing up to that. It's rigged up here. I've had to put a thing in there and a thing there so the jacks are out further. So I've just got to slowly lower it down and see how it goes. It's almost impossible to get my fingers in here unless I remove these, which I don't want to do. So it's level 10 difficulty doing this. Anyone that's got one of these Hondas knows this. So what I've come up with, that's some 50mm PVC pipe. I've cut it to whatever length that is and split it. And now I've put a big cable tie around it. Now that actually slides pretty good, and they're all right in those rings. So I'm pretty sure this is going to help me get it in. An update. When I put that in, actually the first two just slid in with the weight of this. That worked really, really well. But when it came to the oil ring, I don't know, it must have moved just a fraction too far and it popped out, so it was only half in. This one here slid in, right? And this one, the ring was half in, and I had to lift it up just a fraction. That made this one pop out, and I got this one in. I cut that off, got it in, cut it really well. But this one here was half in, and instead of, I should have lifted it up a fraction, and I just went to pop it in, just went click, and there's the result. It busted a ring. The only thing I've got good about these JP rings is their after customer service. I rang them in Adelaide. Straight away they're going to send me another 2 sets of rings, but they probably won't be here for a week. They've got to come from Adelaide. What I'm going to actually do is I'm going to turn this difficult problem into something that's easy. I'm going to try and do it the way, I'm going to think of how, you've got to think of how they do this in a factory. They don't stand there for ages mucking around with it. They do it quick. And that's what I'm going to do. So that's a normal ring compressor. You can't use that because you can't get it off because they're going in backwards. It's got to come out this way. So in the factories they use something similar to that. They use a little piece of plastic and it just slots into it's got a little lip there and it slots into the cylinder and it just pushes in. That's how they make engines. So I bought this high pressure pipe, and that's exactly the same size as that. It's actually a little bit tight. I'm still going to put a split there, but I'm going to see if I can machine a small lip there that'll fit down into the back of the cylinder, and that way it'll just go straight in. I'm just going to see if I can make something good. I'm just going to change that. I can't believe how well this thing machines this plastic. It's PVC. All that stuff there. Doesn't look like much there, but that's all come out the centre of that pipe, so I can get the ID what I want. Then I'm going to machine a small lip here, and I want that to just, I'm hoping to be able to do it, to go down into the cylinder. We'll see if it machines it. And that will be the perfect thing to install these. I'm going to make 4 of them. The type of thing I was hoping to make, so that just fits perfectly onto that piston. Right, it does fit on. And I was hoping to just get it so it would slot in there. But it sort of works, but I think it's the wrong material. That's PVC. Maybe with ABS or something it would work. But what I'm going to do is go back to this plan, but I'm going to make these without a gap. And just put them in like that. I'm going to go back to my original idea. Like that's the gap I've got now. That's nothing. Like that moves quite good. Like I can move it whenever I want. Like it's got oil. These 3 are ready to go. I'm just waiting on that new busted ring, and I'll put that on with the cable tie. Like I could do it without the cable tie, but it's just easier to get it off. Like I don't have to stuff around cutting this and everything. It's the same thing. So I reckon that's the best way to do it that I can see. Unless you've got the factory thing, see that fits in there good. Like that's in there now. That would just fall in. But the problem is that thin edge there should be a third, about a third that, even quarter that. And I just can't get those tolerances with this plastic. So I'm just going to do it like that. Anyway, this phone's telling me it's full, so I'm going to have to get this footage that I've got here off this phone. So I'm going to try and film putting this in, because it is quite difficult, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the easiest way with what I've got here. Anyway, thanks for that.